my boy Nobunaga getting animated just puts a smile on my face. When I sat back, watched that opening song, and you just see the beautifully animated opening song, and you get to that one scene in the opening song where you see Nobunaga, you just see his fucking house on fire, and he's smiling. Oh, I just got hyped. I got so fucking hyped because this character, he's my boy. He's my favorite character of Drifters, and seeing this boy animated just makes me so happy. So, this episode, episode 2 of Drifters, gotta say, way better than the previous episode because of the execution, to the meaning, and also some of the epic scenes with Nobunaga. I mean, there's just a lot of good things about this episode. And from what I saw from many anime-onlys that were just now getting introduced to Drifters, many of you Chibits really enjoyed the first episode and liked the start of Drifters, which makes me very happy because this is a series I know that some might like, some might not like, because it has historical characters. And I know there's many that tend to not want to watch an anime series that is about historical characters because they feel like the character might be too generic or something you've seen before in other anime, and so you kind of already know what to expect from the character. And so seeing how these characters are being animated, and many of you Chibits are anime-onlys are enjoying Drifters, it makes me very happy. So let's talk about what this episode was about. So the main point of this episode was to showcase the role of the world, what the Drifters are going to be doing inside of the world now that they were sent to. They're going to be conquering land, conquering territories, and trying to change the world as we know it. And as we can see, the person that was sitting at the desk is sending in people throughout different parts of time, Drifters that they're titled, to this world to help save something, do something. We don't know exactly the plot at this time when it comes to the anime episode 2, but we do know that this man is grabbing a bunch of people from different parts of the timeline, and when he's bringing them into this world to do something. And we do know there's some form of power struggle going on because of what happened at the end of episode 2. We see like the forces of light and dark going at each other, which is very funny when you think about it, because someone like Nobunaga, he's technically a villain. He's someone you would consider a villain, but somehow he's on the right side. He's on, you know, the good side, even though you can consider him a villain type character, especially what he's done in the past, in his historical, you know, past. Also, you know, Toyohisa as well. Some of the shit we've already seen him do in this episode and last week's episode already stands out to show that he's a different type of main male character than we're normally used to. So let's talk about how different our characters are compared to the normal cast we see from anime nowadays, especially when it comes into the action genre. So Toyohisa, as the main male character, he is very different. He's not someone that is just happy-go-lucky. He does have his moments where there's some comedy scenes, obviously, but he's someone that takes, you know, fighting very serious. He's someone that will kill someone. He's not someone that will beat the shit out of you and let you just walk off. Usually, if he gets into a fight with you, he's going to cut your fucking head off and you're dead as fuck. That's what's going to happen when you encounter this man, and that's usually what's going to happen when you encounter the other cast, for instance, like, you know, Nobunaga. So if you encounter these characters, you shouldn't expect the traditional outcome of like a shonen fight. You should expect blood, death, someone is gonna die in this fight, and that's kind of what separates Toyohisa from the normal, you know, action battle main character we see, because this man will straight up kill your ass. And also, the brutal beatdown signifies what type of personality this character has as well. So, the main point of the fighting in the elf village was because the humans, they wanted to rule upon the demi-humans. They thought they were a higher species. It's kind of the traditional thing you'd see in these type of stories. You'd see it to where there's prejudice, you see the where humans think they're on top, and how they force the other species like dwarfs, elves, and all sorts of other different mystic creatures, they force them underneath the human species, and to make it to where they do slave labor, which we are seeing going on in this episode. So overall, we have the setting to where humans feel like they're the top species, and they're trying to, you know, push the other species down to where eventually they will completely die off. Now, obviously, our cast of characters, they come in, the Drifters, even though they're necessarily evil in some ways, they are kind of saving the day, and are helping out this elf village that is currently being picked on by humans. And I like the aspect of this, of how this is kind of being thrown in there. It's something familiar we have seen from other series, but it adds in a different type of setting with a different type of execution, especially with the historical figures coming into this timeline, because they're not used to, you know, fantasy fantasy type stuff. They're not used to, like, elves, dwarves, maybe dragons and shit like that. They're used to their real life stuff, technology, guns, maybe planes, fighting with swords, katanas, shit like that. They're not used to, seeing fantasy creatures like dwarfs, elves, and all that. So this is an entirely new thing for them. But right now, what they're doing in the position they're in, they're actually helping the underdogs of the world. They're helping out the lower species, according to the humans in this world. They're helping out the elves and the dwarfs and stuff like that. So the main concept, though, was that when they came in, for instance, Toyohisa came in to stop this raid, he wanted answers. He wants to kind of know what's going on. And when Toyohisa entered the village, he saw innocent civilians dead on the ground. He saw old people, and he saw, men, and he saw children all on the ground dead. There was no women, because from what we found out, a bunch of the people that were doing this to the town, they grabbed all the women from the village and took them back to their fortress. So there's no women in this town. There's nothing but males in this town. So you could kind of, if you put 2 points together, you can kind of figure out what is going on there, but I'm not going to get too far into that. So the big point is that right now, the humans right now that feel like they're ruling the world are trying to slowly kill off all the demi-humans. And when Toyohisa arrived and he saw this bloodshed, we get to see a little bit of his personality and how he would react to something like this, because we do know that this isn't his first war. We know he battled in the past, we know what type of character he is, and he's seen a lot of bloodshed. And when you see how he looks at the, the picture of everyone dead, he doesn't react like a normal character would if this was him being transported into a war or something. Usually a main male character would be freaking out like, holy shit, they'd be freaking out, running away, being scared, whatever, which is kind of a realistic reaction. It is. I mean, if you have never seen war and you saw people dying left and right and you saw bodies everywhere, most likely you would fucking freak out. But Toyohisa being a character that's already been through so much conflict, this is something he's seen. You see that it still pains his soul. You see how he felt sad about it, especially the way the animation was done, but he didn't let it bug him too much to where he didn't focus on the big picture. He took down his opponents in this fight. And even though he was upset, he was mad, and normally a character that saw something like this, they'd be consumed by rage and kill their opponent. Even though Toyohisa is shown to kill his opponents, he didn't finish off the commander. He didn't do the killing blow, and the reason for it was to allow the villagers to take up their arms, take up weapons, and to fight back for what they believe in, and also get their vengeance against the very people that's been putting them down and killing them. So Toyohisa shows that he's a compassionate person, and he fights for the right side, but also, he's someone that won't let rage consume him to the point to where he won't see the bigger picture. So as a character, Toyohisa, a very, very good main role lead character of the series. Now, Nobunaga, the reason why I like him, I just love the sinister atmosphere around this character. I have always loved him when I first saw him in the manga, and I just love his voice actor, the way he's being displayed in this series, and I do love just the way he slowly has the shady things behind the scenes he sees building up, especially what you saw him do to, the food, the fields. When he started burning the fields and he started making this, dialogue like, the reason why I'm doing this is because if I starve them out, and even if they have dignity or whatever, it doesn't matter. If they have dignity, eventually they're gonna have to try to find food. If they don't have dignity and they just want to survive on food, eventually they're gonna have to come out too. So he's like, I'm just fucking them over. I'm just, using these tactics because they were used against me when I was still, in my regular world in Japan and I was conquering things. I was still doing this and this was being done to me. So he's like, fuck it. I want to use a tactic from someone else that someone used against me, against these people. So Nobunaga learning from his mistakes in the past, and he's using against other people, which adds a very interesting concept to upcoming battles, because think about this. If a historical figure will use things that were used against him and learn from his mistakes, you can't imagine how much character development this character might get in the future outcome of the series. I mean, think about it. If Nobunaga is using tactics or someone used against him against someone else, we know that there's probably room for character development, these characters to develop in a different way that we never expected. So, Drifters Episode 2, a very solid episode. I cannot wait to see the continuation in Episode 3 to air next week. But yes, episode so far, still following the manga quite well. I'm very excited for this series. Anime Onlys, how do you feel about Drifters Episode 2? Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. You all have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.